Alright, what's up? It's Squirrel World. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. So, this is the base stats for Gallantmon. I'm not going to go over HerculesKabuterimon because I did that in my everything video, so if you want to know what it does, just look that up. Guard Break Plus for when you're on approach because Shield Adjust is a straight line attack, so attacking somebody straight on is usually not as good as debuffing them, especially if they are guarding at that point. So debuffing them first for cheaper, it only costs you 40, and then once you have decent mobility, you have 4 mobility, get to the side or the rear of them, go ahead and hit them with Shielded Adjust or with your regular attack. Anti-element crystal is so that you have a positive trade versus vaccines, especially like vaccines. A slightly negative trade against Wargreymon, and then a very negative trade against everything else that's a vaccine. But it is a trade that you can make with anti-element crystal because of heretical holy knight. All right. By the way, Gallantmon is the essence of it's the archetype of what a good mega is. So if you look at all of the base stats except for speed, because speed is a zero sum game, you need 400 speed. Gallantmon does manage to get that with its speed plus 1 rank, but I'm going to increase that more. So I just have the base stats for all these megas, except for the partners and these perfects. So, and this one is one of my demos. This is the actual base mega. But anyway, if you take all the stats and you add them up, so physical attack plus physical defense plus special attack plus special defense plus 606 SP plus 368 HP, we're going to divide it by 10, so it's only 368 instead of 3689. You come out with 3000, and that's roughly what we want to be seeing for a mega that to consider it good. A bad mega would be like this one. This guy only comes out with like 2600 points if you add it up that way. And its speed is below average, so it's actually pretty bad off for a mega overall. But that's why you have training items. I've increased its physical attacks tremendously here for Spinomon. Its physical attack has been increased so that when it uses Sonic Slash Rain, it increases the physical attack to the same level as a special attack. Hell Crusher is on the build, and Vengeance Field is on the build. Vengeance Field is to help out with Sword Armor. So Sword Armor already bounces back some damage, but we're going to bounce back even more with Vengeance Field. Sword Armor gives back. Um, Shoot, I forgot the exact number. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I have it written down though, because I'm always prepared. All right, Sword Armor reflects 15%, 30% when the enemy attacks into the guard, and then Vengeance Field reflects 25% flat. So you can get a maximum of 55% reflection with Vengeance Field and Sword Armor working at the same time. Plutomon, probably the second strongest Digimon overall in the game that you can recruit. Yeah, just Stellar Potency Crystal and Shining Laser, just to help you get as much damage off as possible. If you don't know about King of Hell, that is also in my everything facts video, FAQs video. So go ahead and look that up. But yeah, Shining Laser, Hell's Gate. That's all it really comes down to. Trying to kill something as soon as possible. You're better off going for the small fries to kill them because every time you kill something, you get one stage of permanent boosts. Etemon is the only viral tank in the game besides like freaking Gardramon, who's a champion, so we're not going to include him. All you really need to do is increase Etemon's HP by like 1500, and then that'll get you across the 4000 barrier. You don't really need to increase the speed because you're not really trying to attack with him, but if you do, then you have a low chance of paralysis and negating stat boost, which is all good for a tank especially. Um, Beloved Crystal, find Vexing Aegis Crystal. Obviously, you need a Vexing to draw people in, and then Beloved Crystal gives you HP regen. Alright, BlueMeramon has the strongest hitting fire attack in the game besides Wargreymon, so yeah, it's nice to have. He actually has quite a few data targets that he can hit, like Ceresmon, Rosemon, Ceresmon medium. So it's nice to have that viral fire attack. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Increases speed up to 400. It's going to take a lot of bananas to do that, but do so. And then I've also increased his special attack to be higher than his physical attack because he doesn't have any physical attacks. But this game is weird. He's an attack type. His physical attack is higher than his natural special attack, but he has no physical attack. So um, you can either give him I don't even know if I can find it. Hell Crusher, you could do that as well. Or you could just give him Meteor Fall and Acceleration Charge. I find that to be the better option because Ice Phantom is such a short range attack and it's a good attack. Monzaemon is one of the best healers in the game. X Aura and Stellar Potency Crystal, you're trying to do as much damage as you can. When you're not doing damage, you're just trying to heal people around you. And I'm not really going to go over that. If you want to know exactly how Overflowing Love works, look up my FAQ video. He is a neutral, non-elemental attacker, so he's nice for those enemies that resist basically everything. Puppetmon, Acceleration Charge Plus because you want him to be able to move fast. He is your best ground attacker and fire attacker almost in the game. We're not talking about sovereigns, by the way, hands off with spoilers. So I will be giving out spoilers for free right now. I'm just letting you know this entire video is going to be spoilers, hands free. You're going to get a lot of them. Um, awesome Quake Acceleration Charge Plus is what you need. You're going to hit as hard as you can with Awesome Quake. With the Earth attacks, because you're getting plus 25% on it, so it's effectively a 500 attack move instead of a 400. And then yeah, you want to be able to maneuver. That's why Acceleration Charge Plus is there. Now you can see that I have not increased. Like I said, I haven't increased any of these mega stats except for this Spinomon. This is the base level Spinomon. It's a terrible, terrible Digimon. This is after I've increased its stats up to 2900. So like I said, 3000 is a good Gallantmon. Well, 3000 is a great mega. 2900 is good enough. Like this is serviceable. I don't want to spend too many more training items on that. This is actually absolutely pitiful. So that's why you have to increase Spinomon's abilities, or it's just basically unusable. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and release him for it, so I don't forget to do that later. All right, Ceresmon, kind of like your mobile artillery. Giga Crusher, Stellar Pilots, and Crystal. His ability causes him to deal and take 25% extra damage. So this Giga Crusher is actually in the 800s when it comes to attack. Absolutely amazing, absolutely awesome. Um, but yeah, you want to stay far away from enemies because once they get close enough to you to actually hit you, they're going to hurt you. Sealing and confusing targets. The sealing helps with enemies not being able to hit you from afar. Confusing helps with enemies hitting other people instead of you. So this is actually a very good move on Ceresmon. Also, since this is a data, it can hunt down. Um, since this is a data and this is a, excuse me, I'm so sorry, I'm all over the place. All right, let's focus. Ceresmon is data. Most Digimon that are weak to darkness are going to be vaccine. So having a dark move on a data is actually extremely strong, and especially when it's coming at 25% extra damage. Rosemon. Rosemon's one of those very, very weird Digimon. Um, this is the best possible moves for it. I mean, obviously you can upgrade Acceleration Charge to Plus, but you only have so many of those, and you need to use those in specific places. So Gale Storm, Acceleration Charge. That's because it does get an extra 25% on that Gale Storm, so that's the 500 power move. Gale Storm allows it to hit corners, otherwise it wouldn't be able to do that at all. Because it has a straight line attack under as Forbidden Temptation, so you've got a straight line attack and you've got corners. But you're always going to fall a little bit short on range, it feels like, so Acceleration Charge is there to help with that. All right, Piedmon. I make it achromatic because it has a very, very good ability. It's great at hunting down, just like with Ceresmon, hunting down those vaccines that are weak to darkness. With its Trump Sword ability, all of its attacks deal damage as if they're attacking from behind. It has very good stats. It's just because it's a virus, it ends up losing a lot of those battles, so that's why you give it achromatic. And then it also gets some resistance to light, which is really nice. Alright, HerculesKabuterimon. Even though it would be the best vaccine tank, I don't use it as a vaccine tank. Instead, I use it more as a like attacker because it does have that ability where it increases its offenses by one stage, so 12% every turn if it doesn't guard. So acceleration charge, ocean wave. Ocean waves to hit the things that have fire damage, basically. So your Wargreymon, your Puppetmons, stuff like that. I think even Spinomon might be weak to it. No, I'm wrong as heck. Not Spinomon. What was I thinking of that was weak to water? Well, it doesn't really matter. I know Gigadramon is, but that's a perfect, so it's not a big of a deal. But yeah, things that like to use fire against you, that's what Ocean Wave is for. And the acceleration charge is because you only have a movement of 3, so you need to fix that. By the way, that's the space stats. Plesiomon, unfortunately, Plesiomon is almost straight up a worse version of MetalSeadramon in every conceivable way. The only thing it actually does get over MetalSeadramon is the less likely to be affected by stamina abnormalities deal. So giving it DPC, Divine Protection Crystal, is really strong. I use Fine Vexing Potency in order to decrease its damage, and that's about it, honestly. Also, even though I say it's a worse version of MetalSeadramon, since I do achromatic MetalSeadramon, I'm going ahead and talk about him now. Uh, Plesiomon is actually my um, data tank. Now, for my anything tank, that is MetalSeadramon. That's because it has the best defensive ability in the game. It basically gets a DPC as its ability, which is reducing damage by 4 ranks. With that, we can go ahead and throw an Achromatic Crystal on there, a Potency Crystal on there. We don't really care if an enemy is able to confuse us or what have you, because ultimately what's going to happen, they're going to hit you again, and when they hit you again, you're not going to be confused. So that's why we don't care if we have resistance to stab and saturn maladies. It's not really going to affect us. Nothing except for poison is really a problem for MetalSeadramon. Alright, so Seraphimon, we're using Destruction Cannon and Fine Stamina Crystal. It's a quick mega, but it's not the quickest of the vaccine megas. Um, yeah, it's actually very. It's kind of like a worse version of Phoenixmon in most ways. The only thing it doesn't have is a weakness to water, which is nice for it. But otherwise, it's worse than Phoenixmon in most conceivable ways. Alright, so GranKuwagamon. It can attack twice if it's staying in the same position. That's why we use Hell Crusher, because the Hell Crusher is a physical attack that can attack from range. When I do build this thing up all the way, I will go to my superpower pineapples, and I will end up buffing its strength like tremendously. But I want to show everything at base stats and not with the buff stats for this video. So Acceleration Charge Plus is nice because you want to get into position on turn 1, and then you want to not move anymore after you get into position if at all possible. So Acceleration Charge, move into position, and then from there, Hell Crusher, Dimensional Scissor things to death as long as you can. SaberLeomon is probably the worst Digimon of the Mega selection. It's very high up there. They ruined this Digimon in so many different ways. I don't know why it only has a movement of 3 when it's supposed to be a quick Digimon. I just can't understand it. Matter of fact, if you go to the there's going to be a version of this thing that I believe they should have used. Like Sonic Charge, even though I know this is like the broken, busted version that Mugen Recollection gives you, this would have been acceptable as like as SaberLeomon's actual ability. There's also a version of these abilities that allows a Digimon to sometimes attack 3 times at once. I think Mugen Recollection Boltboutamon has that. But in any case, yeah, this is just like a terrible Digimon. This is just a terrible Digimon. This version of Sonic Charge would have been balanced. And then, yeah, does it actually get the... Let's see how much movement they gave it. Sorry about that. Let's see. Did they give it 4 movement? Yeah, 4 movement would have been a big strength as well. Yeah, they should have gave it... This should have been standard, SaberLeomon. Period. This should have been the standard. But instead, what we do have is this, which is 3 movement, and then not very much going on in Sonic Charge. Speed 1 rank is okay. Moderate charge chance of unleashing 2 attacks instead of 1. Moderate's actually pretty low. And it's a gamble every time you do it, because if it doesn't work, you've dealt a damage of 240 instead of 325, and you only have 3 movements, so you don't get that natural ability to just run to somebody's back again unless you have acceleration charge on. So that's why we have acceleration charge plus, to make up for its terrible movement, and meteor fall is to make up for the fact that its ground attacks don't do much damage against bugs like this, right? So instead, fire attacks do damage against those. So you're going to see a lot of Digimon that resist ground. Plants and stuff, yeah, they're weak to fire. That's why having ground as the backup, having fire as the backup was the plan there. Hold up. What's the fastest Digimon I have? That's fine. Gallantmon should still be my fastest Digimon. But I think those guys are going to move faster. I hate how OP Mugen Recollection Digimon are. But that's why I do these builds, because Mugen Recollection Digimon are so OP. Oh. SaberLeomon is faster. SaberLeomon is like one of the fastest megas. It's just that everything else about it sucks. If everything else about it didn't suck, it would be a serviceable mega. Alright, so... Sorry, I just wanted to get rid of that music, because that music kind of sucked. Ho'omon is the fastest mega. Oh, I can't believe I forgot that so quickly. But yeah, Ho'omon is absolutely the fastest mega. Naturally. Hell Crusher, because it has a higher physical attack and special attack, that can be confusing. But yes, use Hell Crusher because it does give you perfect coverage with Starlight Explosion. Having that light and that darkness is always... You're always going to be able to beat something. The only exception is like Fanglongmon, but who cares? Find Stamina Crystal to help your HP out. But yeah, otherwise you're good to go. It even gets a different element on its regular attack, which is nice if you want to be able to hit something for fire. Gigadramon is the strongest user of Hell Crusher, the absolute strongest Hell Crusher in the game, because physical attack up 1 rank, so that's plus 12.5%. Dark attacks plus 2 ranks, so plus 25%, and that is multiplicative. So it's actually higher. I think it's like plus 40% on Hell Crusher. So what's 440%? Like, I think that's a 560 Hell Crusher. It's really, really nice. Acceleration charge to get you in range, because it is a slow mover at 3. But yeah, otherwise, most of your problems with this is going to be it's very, very low natural speed. So I've already buffed its speed all the way up to 400, but I think its natural speed is like 2 something. And then its survivability is actually incredibly low at 2600 HP and paper thin defenses. But if you get that Hell Crusher off, it's really nice. And then on top of that, it does have genocidal gears, which if you hit somebody with it, you're going to get an extra 25% on your physical attack. And then hit somebody twice with it, you get an extra 50%. So the longer it can stay in the battle, the harder it's going to hit. It's just a question of, can it stay in the battle that long? Boltboutamon is definitely one of the better Digimon. Holy Light lets you heal up. Vex and Alacrity, you're going to try to dodge things. You don't necessarily want to get hit because you're not a tank at all, but you do want to kind of speed tank things, dodge things, because if you're good at dodging things, a la Depollo, I would say about 1 out of 4 times, so like 25% of the time, you'll nullify that enemy's attack and you'll deal some damage to them, 25% damage to them, 20% damage, excuse me, to them, and then you'll nullify their attack so they waste a turn on you. So that's really nice to have. Perniculus Waltz is really strong. Yeah, this is all just really strong stuff. The best actual Digimon in the game, beside that you can recruit, is Sakuyamon. You can tell that it also has the highest experience naturally. All these Digimon are at their natural peaks for experience, except for this guy and some of the other perfects. But otherwise, they're all at their natural peaks. I caught this girl, and she's the only one that takes 2.5 million experience to get to level 99, and you can tell because she's the strongest recruit you can possibly catch. Amethyst Mandala is broken as heck, but you kind of need it for Mugen Recollection because those Digimon are all broken as heck. Extreme Burst, it's supposed to lower your stats, but thanks to Exorcism's ability, which is your status ability, you don't suffer from that. So you get that super strong neutral damage. It's hitting for 666, but it doesn't reduce any of your stats. And it goes pretty far and it knocks things out, puts them to sleep. On top of that, you're able to buff your defenses. It's just really strong. It's just super, super strong. Um, right now I do have an item on it to increase its SP. Its SP is usually its weak point, but honestly at level 99 it's not really. Um, 700 SP is higher than anybody else naturally, so it's actually really really good. But as you're leveling it, if you have one at a lower level, yeah, you're going to need Fine Skill Crystal in order to use Extreme Burst and Amethyst Mandala as often as you want to. Also, special thing about this build, Sakuyamon needs to be your fastest Digimon on turn one. And when I say turn one, I mean obviously Gabumon is going to be your fastest Digimon probably on turn two and beyond, if not Falcomon. But Sakuyamon needs to be your fastest Digimon on turn one. When I say Sakuyamon, I mean Miko mode. Um, because if it's not your fastest Digimon, then let's say Boltboutamon moves first, because right now Boltboutamon has a much higher speed, and Sakuyamon Miko mode is actually very very slow. So it's going to take like quite a few bananas for me to get it faster than Gallantmon and Boltboutamon. These guys. Matter of fact, let's arrange this by speed. Yeah, Bolt Battlemon's my fastest. Oh, I didn't know Bolt Battlemon was the fast. I thought Phoenixmon was the fastest mega. Stand corrected. Somehow Bolt Battlemon is the fastest mega. So yeah, 512 natural speed is actually extraordinarily fast. I'm surprised at that. Uh, so to get from that would basically be 22 bananas actually, 22 all out bananas to get it up to that speed, which is quite a few. But that would pay off in dividends because that would ensure that your extreme burst never misses because your speed does also affect your accuracy. It does make sure that you have a lot of staying power. And yeah, I think I would replace this because my SP is naturally high. I'd probably end up replacing this with either Final Heal or XOR. I'm not sure which. Probably probably Final Heal because of how hard things hit in Mugen Recollection. But it's just a question because yeah, you have to do the math on how many turns you're expecting. I'm expecting to use 2 turns of Amethyst Mandala, so that's 120. So that leaves me 600, and then I can use either 4 turns of this or 5 turns of this. So you kind of just have to crank the math. I think the math works out though. I'll go Final Heal here. Just because its SP at level 99 is so high. Before level 99, definitely use that Fine Skill Crystal. Alright. HerculesKabuterimon. Have I not talked about it already? I thought I did. Oh. Yeah. Sorry about that. MetalSeadramon, we talked about it. Magnadramon is a combo healer and tank. It is weak to dark, so just be mindful of that, but it does have an ability to deal extra damage to raffle types, so that is really nice. On it, I've added Fine Vexing Pot and Final Heal. Why? Its recovery is plus 25, so that's really nice. It also gets no stab inside melody, so that's nice too, especially on a tank. Um, yeah, this doesn't. Yeah, this is nice. Um, it's not going to get poisoned or paralyzed or anything. It can heal, and that's what I really mean when I say tank. It's nice on a healer to not have any stab stats or malady, so you could just go ahead and heal things instead of accidentally getting paralyzed and you're just like, well, that's 2 Digimon dead. So just none. Panjamon, IceLeomon if you want. Um, so there's a kind of 50-50 between it and Marine Devimon. Marine Devimon is technically a stronger hitting Ocean Wave, but it's only really able to use that effectively against Kinzoku, whereas IceLeomon is able to use its Ocean Wave against War Greymon, the entire Greymon species. It's able to use it against Puppetmon, just anything that is a vaccine or a virus that's weak to water. Whereas Marine Devimon really only gets that against viruses and data, which there is no data that's weak to water, so it has no natural prey. So that's why I say I use it more for IceLeomon. Um, Ocean Wave Stellar Pot to make it hit harder. Yeah, pretty much. It has a high natural speed also, so even though I've added bananas, I've added like 10 bananas to it. It, or actually, excuse me, 11 bananas. It started at 299. Even though I've added 11 bananas, it's actually extremely fast for a perfect. It might be a fastest perfect as far as I know. So starting with partners now, right? Yeah, all we have left are partners. So Agumon, I should make a video on Agumon by itself, honestly. But at absolute endgame, you've beaten all the different routes, and you're at the end of a truthful route, and you're trying to beat Mugen Recollection. This is the setup: Acceleration Charge, Celestial Blade. That simple. If you want to, you can swap out Acceleration Charge for something else that, or whatever. Um, but yeah, the only thing I would say is make sure your SP is nice and high. I don't have these guys at level 99 because partners take forever to train up to level 99. But yeah, partners also have the strength of having tamers with them who can buff them. And Taki has the second best buff. Maybe the best buff, maybe second best. It depends on him versus Minoru, how you feel about it. But yeah, Celestial Blade, because of you're not able to see his special ability. Omegamon has an ability that increases the damage of light attacks by 25%, and I believe he also has an ability that increases. Where is that? It's light and water, fire and light. Okay, so yeah, fire and light. So its regular attack is fire, so it gets plus 25%, and then it doesn't get a light attack naturally, but you just add Celestial Blade for that 25%. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bounce back and forth between librarian status for a few of these. Gabumon. Okay, so this Digimon is also going to be extremely fast. The reason is because we always want it to be able to move before Agumon, no matter what. And we want it to be able to switch back and forth between Wergurumon and Garurumon because they have different elemental properties. As you can tell, Metalgarurumon is weak to fire, Wergurumon is neutral. Resistance to ground while you're weak to it, stuff like that. So we just want to be able to swap back and forth. Obviously, if an enemy is only weak to water, then we want to be able to swap to this guy because he has actually the strongest neutral hit that isn't Takioku from Fanglanmon. So if you go to the library, you'll see Wergurumon here. He has 1 rank on physical attack, 3 ranks on counters, and Wolf Claw deals non-elemental damage at 225, which is actually really good. When you're looking at Digimon that strongly resist all elements, oh, you can't see it here. Let me go to it. Let me go to status. Yeah, this is actually kind of hard to do because I have to go back and forth between, for examples. Yeah, see, that's a 50% resistance almost to all elements. But if you have Metalgarurumon, there's 0% resistance because it's, excuse me, Wergurumon is 0% resistance. There we go. So yeah, that's why it's so important to have Wergurumon available. Right now, Wergurumon's speed projected once it digivolves is going to be 504, whereas Fanglanmon for me is going to be 493. That is on purpose. I deliberately leveled or his Gabumon speed up until I ensure that Metal where Gurumon is going to be faster on every turn than Phenomon. So that is the goal. Otherwise, as far as items go, perfect field in order to give it to Agumon, and acceleration charge plus in order to give it to Agumon. So basically, his first couple turns are going to be either buffing, and if he needs to attack, he'll attack. But otherwise, yeah. Much less complicated. Um, Stellar Potency Crystal for damage, Final Heal for Bancho. And when I say Bancho, Bancho is an ability. Let me find him. Let me find him. Here we are. So it raises a random stat once rank 1 attacked, and special attack when rank 1 HP drops a certain amount. So we do like getting random stat ups, random buffs, but the problem with getting attacked is that you get hurt. So that's why we have Final Heal on our Kunemon in order to make sure that when we are attacked, we're able to keep those buffs by healing all that damage back off. Lopmon, we're going to give it Hell Crusher because its evolution has a higher, just like with Phoenixmon, it has a higher attack than special attack. And Hell Crusher is perfect coverage with Heaven's Judgment. Find stamina crystals in order to help its relatively low HP amount, which is only 3100. So now it's up to 4690. Dracmon, I'm actually the proudest of my job with this because normally this Digimon sucks very, very bad. Bielzamon is a physical attacker. There's a couple ways you could approach this. You can give it St. Knuckles D, which is what I do. If you don't have St. Knuckles D because you don't have DLC, then Hell Crusher would be the better option. But St. Knuckles D is the best possible option. Acceleration charge in order to get into position. The reason you want those things is because you want to be right next to a Digimon, especially. And honestly, I should increase its speed quite a bit too. I have not increased its speed, but it needs to be one of the faster Digimon. Not as fast as Sakuyamon and Gabumon, but it needs to be moving second probably, because the thing is, Kaito, let's go to profile. Kaito is unique in that he has, I think him and only one other person has maxed out team up attacks. I think the other person is Minoru. Yeah, so him and Minoru have maxed out team up attacks. So, but unlike Minoru, Kaito gets a buff when he talks to attack, right? So he does 50% extra physical attack damage on his buff. So you line up all these things and it basically turns into you need to be able to get next to an opponent Digimon as quickly as possible with Bielzamon. Bielzamon's regular attack is like 225, I believe. Let me double check that. Where we at? Oh, excuse me, it's only 220. Well, I'm only off by 5. So 220 on its regular attack, 300 on St. Knuckles D, and then double impact. I don't ever really recommend using unless your buffs wear out, in which case, what are you doing with your life? So yeah, Baron Hannah is nice when it does work. You hope it works, but it's better to get back attacks when you can. So yeah, that's probably my proudest setup. That's like the perfect setup. You need St. Knuckles D and Acceleration Charge Plus for those reasons. Because you get the coverage between that 220 attack and that 300 light and dark. And then getting next for that. Alright, Night Melon Galestorm on Renamon. So Sakuyamon, true Sakuyamon, regular Sakuyamon if you want, has the ability that it oh, that's the wrong one. It deals more damage when it attacks with the element the target's weak against. So we want to use as many elements as possible. We get light naturally. So I picked up dark because that's what light enemies are weak to, and there's a lot of light users in and vaccine. And then the only other thing that's really available that's strong is wind. So that's why you use dark light wind as a combo with Sakuyamon. Otherwise, it's very simple. I will be increasing its speed a bit because its speed is terrible. I think I've already increased its speed quite a bit too. Yeah, its speed was like down in like near 200 at range. I've increased the speed a good bit. I'm going to increase the speed even more because it needs to get to that 700 in order to be viable in Mugen Recollection. Anything sub 400, excuse me, 400 needs to be 400 to be viable in Mugen Recollection. Anything sub 400 is not going to get any hits landed. All right, so this is the other battle backupper. Um, so we got Verduramon and Zukalmon. The good news is we don't need to increase its speed because its speed is blazing fast. And its mobility is already blazing fast as well. So we use Awesome Quake and Aid Crystal. SP recovery becomes a problem for Zukalmon. Um, and then, yeah, it's a virus, so it wants to be able to kill tanks, especially as a special attacking virus or attacking virus. But it lacks a lot of ability to do that due to its fire damage. So giving it ground lets it kill off Plesiomon and MetalSeadramon faster. And then this is for the SP recovery. That's pretty simple. All right, Shining Laser, Stellar Crystal for Labramon. I feel like this is the best setup for it. Um, Stellar helps this guy be a good, helps it dodge basically everything. Um, Plutomon's already very good. And then Baihuman, being able to land that Congo attack, which lowers the enemy speed, is nice because once you lower the enemy speed, then your other Digimon can attack it. So having that high speed from Stellar Crystal is really crucial to making sure that is a consistent operation. Shining lasers in order to reabsorb HP, and also does good damage off of Anubismon here, who has an ability that buffs it, and then also so it does. It's multiple reasons, right? So Labramon has one of the better setups. Where is library? So of course you have Plutomon. Where the heck is Plutomon? So Plutomon's attack is dark, so Shining Laser is light. It works out, right? And it also does high damage, so it also makes sure that you're getting those King of Hell procs. And then on top of that, you have where's Newbymon? It's so hard to look for Digimon in this stack. Oh, here we are. So yeah, its attack is only 200 damage, so having a 400 damage attack with that Judgment of Good and Evil boosting it by 25% is really nice. So yeah, that's the reasons why we do what we do with Labramon. All right, last two, Floramon. So Floramon can become either Ceresmon Medium or Agumon. Uh, for it, so there's two ways you could do this. You can go Fine Vexing Aegis Crystal and Beloved Crystal. That is for Agumon. If you're running Ceresmon Medium, then I suggest using an A Crystal and X Heal instead, or XOR, excuse me, XOR instead. So that's because Ceresmon is more of a healer and supporter, whereas Agumon is definitely a tank. So just think about what you're trying to use it for. They both have the ability to not take damage. They're both actually both extremely useful in different ways. Ceresmon having the higher movement mobility and definitely a cooler attack where it hits from farther range. It poisons things. It's actually extremely useful. Agumon is useful for tanking. He's the best tank in the game. Um, oh, besides MetalSeadramon. But honestly, if you gave this guy DPC, he'd be the best tank in the game. Period. Blah. Dot. Blah. Dot. He's the best possible tank in the game. Let's say that. All right. Um, Yeah. So Nature's Bounty Crystal makes Azulongmon immune to so much damage. Like yeah, immune to water, immune to fire if it's coming from a vaccine. Yeah. And then very, very little damage taken from wind, and then half damage taken from dark and from light. Less than half damage actually. So it's actually extremely tanky. Um, and then it has an extremely oppressive ability. Zul'Amon has probably one of the best attacks in the game. Um, yeah, Sorai does so much damage coming off of that massive special attack stat. Um, with the Sovereign Protection of Thunder and a high chance of paralysis, knocking them out of the game for 2 turns is so strong. Um, Zul'Amon is, I underrated it because I looked at it on paper and I didn't play with it. And then once I played with it, I realized how extraordinarily powerful it is. The only Digimon with a move that strong, well, there's a couple of Digimon. As far as the strongest moves in the game go, um, but it's a very, very short list. There's Wargreymons, Terraforce, Supreme Cannon, Takeyoku. So basically, honestly, everything that Agumon has is a Mega or a Super Ultimate. It's going to be a very strong attack. Um, that's not that strong. This is extremely powerful attack. The Bloody Finish, because it can paralyze and poison at the same time, and it has a high chance of both. It's extremely, extremely disabling on enemies. This is another very powerful attack. Heaven's Judgment's very strong. Mm, Amethyst Mandala is okay. The better Amethyst Mandala is the one coming off of her. She has like the single best attack in the game because it's a team buff and nobody else gets a team buff. But yeah, as far as attacks go, Azulamon's Sorai is up there. It's extremely high up there. But yeah, that's all of the builds covered. Now, the only thing I haven't done is I haven't like done all of the upgraded builds. Obviously, I do want to do all the upgraded builds. Like obviously, I need to increase Sakuyamon to be faster than Boltboutamon as soon as possible. So that's probably going to be a 22 banana immediately. Like, but yeah, that's pretty much it for that. As always, if you have questions, let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.